and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore 40k, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our Drukhari from our Dark Angels, our Tyranids from our Tau, and our Craft Worlds from our Chaos Marines, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer 40k stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about 40k. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Hello. Hello there.
Who knows absolutely fuck all about 40k.
Correct. Yes, no.
And my dear brother Darren. Who knows so much about 40k, it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. Over the years, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance. That was the most pedestrian intro I think we've ever done.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, does it?
Oh, I see. Is this? Are you making a point? I'm not sure. Have I done something that I've?
No. We just wanted to highlight how kind of vanilla you are without me and Kral.
It's so true. It's so true.
Wow, that's the most diva thing you've ever said, Darren. You need us. I mean, it's true.
I woke up this morning with a new experience. Literally, as I woke up, punching a full pint of water off the side table and across the room.
That gets you up in a jiffy, doesn't it? That gets you going.
It does indeed.
That's the way to start your day.
What the fuck is that?
That's what you want to do. You get your housemate up, just like throw a burning like toilet roll in their room. Morning. What the fuck?
Have you ever seen that video of the hobo druid of New York City, where it's just a guy who's clearly wearing a body cam, and he goes down this back alleyway, opens up this door to the back of a nice restaurant, shouts "Bing bong, motherfuckers," and throws in a live pigeon. I love it.
Excellent. Yeah, it does. It wakes you up, man. And it was about 6:30 as well, and I had a late night, so I was looking forward to going back to sleep. But cleaning up broken glass at 6:30 is a pretty solid way of bam, you're awake.
Well, I'm awake now. May as well just do my taxes.
Yeah, the threat of cutting yourself is quite gets you up. It's like
was there a bit of you that went, "Oh, I was going to drink that"?
Yeah, I stood there looking at the water on the floor. I was like, "You would have been delicious."
Do you get that? I don't know about you. You spill a drink, smash a glass. You just get that very, very split second going. Shall I? I got to do it. This is unavoidable. Just that kind of calculating kind of thing. You know, inevitably you need to clear it up, but they're still like, "Is there a way out of this?" No.
yeah, totally. Is there some way that I could outsource this?
And suddenly we've segued into another mental health episode.
God knows what I was dreaming about. I don't know. But whatever it was, it fucking got it. Bam. Should we maybe have a...
Should we get on with the fucking show?
Anyway, moving on. Big thanks to everyone that supports the show. You guys are awesome. If you don't support us yet, but you would like to
kill
do
yourself.
So, there's a number of ways that you can do that. You can head over to Patreon, where you can sign up for our Discord, which is just £3 a month. It's really nothing. Or you can pay an extra £2 and gain access to our bonus show, 40KO'd. We also have merchandise and links to our affiliates. If you're into the hobby, just hit the Quartermaster link in the description and send us all your Spondul. And also, this episode may include some ads that help us create this content for free. So the easiest way that you can support us is simply by letting them play fully. Now, Crow, I know that you know what time it is, but we actually have a message before we move on to the next section. A message from our dear friend, Inquisitor Randall McDangle.
Friend is relative.
So here we go.
To the flagship Laying Down the Lore. Our continued investigation...
Je suis le gars omelette de fromage. Bonjour, ho ho ho, oui oui, la baguette, au revoir, merci, ça va bien.
Oh, come on, not again! For fuck's sake.
Je suis la gare omelette de fromage. Bonjour.
Ben Clone Barber, number 27, you are hereby relieved of your post.
Le fromage.
Right, now that's out of the way. Shit. Is
this transmitting? Oh, for fuck's sake, not these twats!
Rude.
Hello there, my beautiful little sausages. Sorry about that little kerfuffle there. These Ben clones I use as proxies start acting up after about 40 years or so. Start talking in some obscure dead language.
Viva la Paris! Oh, merde.
Gibberish! Anyway, Christopher Crallen Allen.
Me?
You got full named.
I am both disappointed and elated. Elated because your score is even lower than the bleakest of my expectations, and the strike team of Tempestus Scions has been dispatched to your location with instructions to bring you back to my personal cruiser. You will then begin immediate lobotomization into a monotask sex servitor for a local hive brothel. I believe they've requested your new name be Senor Fisto. I'm disappointed, however, because one of these damn clones filled the wrong paperwork and sent them to purge a commune of arboreal fruit farmers on Bananarama 7 instead. It'll be some time before I can requisition a new strike team, so you're off the hook. For now, at least.
Wow.
In the meantime, for the love of the throne, try harder. Damn it, man, your frontal lobe is on the line. Inquisitor Randall McDangle, out.
This is a generous guy.
Don't quite know how to feel.
So I got left off. I've been let off the hook, have I? I can keep my
Yep.
frontal lobe for now.
Looks like an administrative error.
Whew. Mate, he's a pushover, isn't he? I'm gonna answer incorrectly more often.
I like the sound of this Bananarama place.
Yeah, it sounds like a Slaneshi garden, doesn't it? Bananarama 7.
The slipperiest, slidiest world in all the Imperium.
The slipperiest, slightest,
The moistest,
phallicest.
fruit-filled canyon of the Imperium. I have to stop.
Yeah, please do. Right, well, yeah, you're off the hook, at least for now, Kral. So we get to reset the counter. So you're back to 0%. And we'll see.
The fruity gusset of the Imperium, Bananarama 7.
Someone reeled Darren in. We've lost him.
I was done.
We've lost him.
Okay, cool. Well, that's that. That's
Cool.
that done.
Thank you.
Move on.
Thanks, Inquisitor Randall. You're the best.
And just a note on that was written, scripted, and performed by the man himself, Randall McDangle. So thank you, Randall.
Randall McDowell. I mean, amazing work. Surprisingly camp, but there we go.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Right, Kral, you know what time it is.
Again.
Citizen of the Imperium, it's time for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me.
Hey! I start at 0 now, do I? So I can actually retain my frontal lobe if I
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay.
So
all right.
you have,
I like it. I like
so
it.
there is a possibility that you could be at 100% at the end of this question, I think. So,
But then the
Episodes-
Inquisitor could just set that threshold to 100% anyway and lobotomize me anyway. So, you know.
well, the
That's-
threshold
that's-
is still 90%.
It's 9%. Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, you could get 100%.
Ooh, could do.
It would be very difficult to get 90% because there's only 3 questions. You'd have to get one kind of partially right or partially wrong.
Well, your scoring's pretty generous. I can get it way off. You're like, you know what, Krell? I'm going to give you that.
I'm just trying to help you, man. I don't want you to become a sex servitor. That sounds awful.
Don't tell me how to live my life. Go.
Right, so this is episode 29. Last episode was
28, all about the Necrons.
well done. Okay. There's no point, unfortunately, for that. Question 1. Who was the war in heaven between?
The war in heaven is started and nearly lost by the Necrontyr before the aid comes from the Star Vampires and their entire race becomes Bender Bending Rodriguez.
But who were they?
Stuffed off my
who were
head.
they
Who are they fighting against?
Who are they fighting against?
Same
same guys that started the old world.
ones. The old ones.
The old ones. Yes,
Yeah,
Kral.
yeah.
Well done,
yeah,
mate.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
100% so far.
Okay.
Who were the 4 individuals that ruled the Necrontyr before the Catan betrayed them?
Oh, fuck knows. I don't know. Darren, Ben, Kral, and Frodo.
Nice.
No idea. Give up.
No. So it was, is it the king and then 3 sort of other kings? 4 kings, basically.
Yeah, it was the Pharaonic Council. So it was the Silent King and 2 other Pharaons. So it was 3. So if he gets the next one right, he's at 90%.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
exactly.
I'll take it.
That's exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. What races did the old ones create?
They created the orcs to try and defeat the Necrons, didn't they? That was one of the reasons behind the orcs. And the Slan.
Yeah.
How many were in total? How many did they make? Come on!
Answer this question that I don't know the answer to. Yeah.
That's what you're here for, Dar.
Yeah.
Well, how many races did they create, Dar?
Orcs. All of them, technically.
Well, not all of them, technically, but
Most of them, technically.
Name another one.
The elves.
There we go. Yeah, 90%.
Fantastic.
Well done.
90%.
90% Kral. Yay!
All right. Well, another fantastic question round. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, man.
Right, lads. Let's crack on. So, as we recapped there through the questionings, last episode we looked at the War in Heaven then, the Necrontyr versus the Old Ones, which they were losing, and then they got the Star Vampires, the Catan, who made a deal that gave rise to the Necrons. And we talked about the process of biotransference where Necrontyr's souls were ripped out of their bodies and kind of jammed in with a potato masher into these robots. This led to the victory over the Old Ones, but towards the end of the war, the Silent King, who is the leader of the Necrons, ordered a rebellion, I say, against the Catan, who were, with the exception of perhaps 1 or 2, destroyed and their shards harnessed and turned into slaves and weapons of war for the Necrons. As all this was happening, the Silent King realized that the Necrons' time had passed, and so instituted the Great Sleep, where the entire Necron race went for a long daytime nap, a la the Vampires of Warhammer Fantasy.
What is it with Games Workshop and sleep in the daytime? Huh? Huh?
I heard a report yesterday about siestas, Kral, on the continent. Apparently, it's the way forward, man.
That is true. It's quite common on the mainland, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe
On the
maybe I'm
mainland.
a weirdo. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as island monkeys.
And as Zarek, the Silent King, slipped out of our galaxy into the void between galaxies, he destroyed the command protocols that bound all the Necrons and their dynasties to the Pharaonic Council, and thus passed the Necrons for 60 million years.
Winks.
Million with an M. I'm being very careful here.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think they've understood the nature of a siesta. I think they've massively overshot their alarm clock.
But you don't know that because you don't know how long it took their planet to go around their sun.
Fucking hell, 60 million years. It's barely moving, is it?
I mean, all the events I've described have taken place before noon on their day.
Yeah.
While the Great Sleep was happening, the universe continued doing what the universe does. giving life to things and destroying things in equal measure, and maybe maintaining things. Who knows?
Why even bother?
So we start.
Like, you're going to destroy and create. Just don't do it. Anyway, sorry. Just shutting up.
Kral, stop questioning the universe, all right?
Yeah, okay.
You don't create and then instantly destroy. There is, no matter how short a time of it, there is a maintaining period
Just a
of time.
just 1
Just,
second.
do you know what I mean? Just miss it out completely and don't do anything and just chill.
Just fucking purgatory.
The end result
Like,
is the
just
same.
Limbo.
You start with nothing, you end up with nothing. Why even begin? You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, this is school shooter talk, and I won't stand for it on this podcast.
Yeah. And so concludes chapter 1 of Chris's nihilist lectures.
Everything's pointless. Stop doing stuff, everybody.
You're going to be like that painter from the Fast Show when he sees black. He just loses his mind.
Black in a hole.
Like the eye-tearing void of the universe.
With an owl.
For comedic effect, it works best when you have a a canvas that you can launch off the side of the cliff.
Listeners, we're talking about the Fast Show. Go and look it up. It's hilarious. We're hilarious. Moving on. So while this great sleep was occurring, the crown worlds and tomb worlds of the Necrons existed underneath the surface of many, many planets. So you had this kind of, how would you describe it? This vast Matrix-style complex underneath the surface of many planets around the galaxy. So these are, if you know that scene in The Matrix where Neo wakes up in the pod.
Oh, yeah.
You can imagine that, but it's loads of Necrons just kind of standing there.
Fuck. I'm in a pod.
This is me in a pod. Yeah, I imagine they needed a lot less space. They would just all,
just stack them up.
Shoulder. Right, stack them up.
So the tomb worlds were serviced by what's referred to as canoptic constructs. So these are the little scarabee lads. They are the larger floating tomb spiders, as they're referred to, and what's referred to as wraiths, which are these. The wraiths are like the squiddies, except one tail instead of many. In Matrix, you've got the tomb spiders are like the thing that comes down and releases the cable from the back of Neo's head in the Matrix.
Right. Yeah.
And the little spider things are like the little spider things, except the ones that are in the Matrix. Yep.
I think Matrix.
And so all of these things, they're maintaining the protocol as all these Necrons are in kind of suspended animation with their head or with their protocols running in a matrix within an already sort of plagiarized matrix system.
Say Matrix one more time. Say Matrix one more time, motherfucker.
I dare you. I double dare you. Who was maintaining them? Who was guarding the guards? You know, these little robot-y things.
They're self-maintaining.
They were self-maintaining, self-oiling.
Yes, they're self-oiling. Like the tomb spider can harvest material from around them and create more tomb scarabs. The wraiths are able to kind of phase in and out of reality or corporeal universe into the kind of pocket universes that the Necrons can create. And so they're kind of self-maintaining. And all of this is under the control of an AI, a Necron AI, dedicated to a specific tomb, which then maintains that tomb and the beings within.
Interesting. Okay.
I like to think they've got the same social structures like monkeys. They just groom each other. They just lounge about top of a metal tree, picking bionic fleas and mites. And
shitting in their hand and then smearing it on their mate. Yeah.
Listen, lads, exactly. This is getting needlessly erotic. Let's just move on.
Is that AI like a full AI then? Like it's like a proper AI, not in the kind of neutered sense that there is in the Imperium.
It's a better, more complicated AI than was ever within the Imperium of Man but it is slave to a specific tomb world.
Right, okay.
And this then became a problem because over, 60 million years, I'm going to say it's a bit of a stretch. It's a long old time. And so you had tomb worlds where the AI became corrupted. You had tomb worlds that were washed over by their star going supernova and being destroyed. So, 10 to 15 to 20% of all the Necrons in the galaxy that went into the Great Sleep were destroyed or, malfunctioned and are just kind of stuck in these neutered tombs, in these neutered tomb worlds, which would need to be directly, I was going to say interfered with, but directly intervened
Fondled.
by other kind of Necron leaders to bring it back up to functionality. Mr. Chris?
Have they tried turning them off and on again?
That's exactly that's what they do.
I mean, it seriously, works 9 times out of 10.
Works. And if that doesn't, then some percussive maintenance. Just fucking work,
Yeah.
you bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Necron string of official swear words as you're whacking things,
Yeah.
Bleep
Just
Lord.
binary.
10011001. Oh no, you didn't.
But also over this enormous stretch of time, we started to see spontaneous kind of wakenings of given tomb worlds. So somewhere around 2% of all tomb worlds woke up over the space of this 60 million years. I mean, that's still a significant number of tomb worlds, even at 2%, but it meant that they needed some rulership in some fashion, because if you recall, all the command protocols were destroyed. So all these tomb worlds were waking up wondering where the dynasty that they belong to is, and they didn't automatically kind of bend the knee to any pharaonic council.
How do you convince a bunch of liberated robots to then follow you? Do you just program it into them?
Fleshlights.
Fleshlight, yeah, sure. Of course.
The command protocols were kind of for the Silent King and the leaders of the dynasties. So the dynasties would automatically be predisposed and bend the knee to the Silent King and the kind of the Great Council.
The worst kept secret in Necron civilization. Control Alt Delete. Like everyone knows it. Like.
Have you tried Command M? Yeah.
Well, I'm all out of ideas if that doesn't work. I mean, Jesus.
Control Z, Control Z, Control Z.
But what ended up being formed was something called the Awakened Council, and it was a mirror of the Great Council of the Silent King, where you had 3 Pharaons who, enforced by the Triarch Praetorians, which is the kind of the super soldiers, the bodyguards of the Silent King, would then try to mediate any disputes between tomb worlds or awakened dynasties to try and keep a low profile. So I imagine there was a lot of kind of really thin skeletal mechanic people with fancy mustaches walking around the universe. No. Me? My name is Hugh Man, to quote Futurama. Yeah. There were also existential threats to the Necrons while they were sleeping. There were 2 real kind of virulent viruses, digital viruses, that would infect tomb worlds or portions of tomb worlds. And these were the Destroyer virus and the Flayer virus. The Destroyers take the xenophobia of the Necrons, as was, to the nth degree, where they just simply wish to kill all life, all living things within their command and then outside of their command, in terms of planets. These are perhaps the second most bloodthirsty, in quotes, Necrons that exist, and they frequently manifest as, centaur Necrons, but the bottom half is a hovercraft as they kind of move through the battlefield with a a ginormous version of a gauze cannon, a gauze blaster, that can strip molecules from people. And other races are available.
Humanoid robot on top,
Yep.
hovercraft underneath, kind of thing.
Yep.
And they just
Yeah,
float along. That's funny. And when they fire this massive, oversized gauze cannon, does the kickback just like launch them a mile behind?
No. They're stabilized front and backwards. So when they fire, they just spin on the spot. Whee!
I can't picture that hovercraft as anything but a surfboard for some reason, and they're wearing glasses. Like, just real,
Why?
Real cool. I don't know. I can't picture. Is the hovercraft Is it quite a long thing, or is it like body sized?
No, it looks like the thorax of a metallic spider.
Oh, okay.
Or
But a hovercraft.
But a hovercraft, yeah.
I'm picturing a literal like small hovercraft. Like,
Right, I'm getting an
with a
image. It's going to be in the show notes. I don't want to hear any more.
It was just a passing comment. It's got out of hand. Let's see this thing. Let's put this to bed once and for all, shall we?
Right, so I've just shared it there. So that is a Necron Destroyer Lord. So instead of the arm where he's holding a spear, you have a much larger gun.
Got
Okay,
it.
cool.
Yeah, I like to think they just kind of like wobble around. They've got no stop. Do you know what I mean? Just like they
Yeah.
drift. Just like using the big spear to kind of like push themselves away from boundaries and shit.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like it's an
we've
oar,
now-
basically.
Yeah.
We've now turned the thing that's the most anathema to living existence into Dr. Evil on his wheelie office chair.
Exactly.
It's Chris's way of dealing with his fear.
Pretty much. Just like
Dr.
comicalize it. Just like, how do you stop?
There are other types of destroyer available. If you don't like the hovercraft, there's the kind of spidery-legged ones called the Scorpith, and there are types of wraith, the phasing kind of ghost-like destroyer referred to as the Ophidian destroyer. The flare virus, however, is much more insidious and is not particularly beneficial. There are kind of hidden origins of the flare virus, which actually they're not hidden at all. You know exactly where it comes from. It's from a Catan with a strangely Welsh name. Llandudor is the name of the
Llandudor Evans.
Definitely been there. I've definitely hiked that mountain.
And during the uprising, he was killed by the warriors of this certain dynasty, and that dynasty was then cursed with the flare virus, or effectively his kind of bloodthirst was communicated into their protocols. And flares tend to look like ordinary Necron warriors, but instead of guns, they've got Freddie Mercury fingers. Freddy Krueger fingers.
Freddie Mercury fingers.
So they've got very long, kind of scalpel bladed fingertips. And their shtick is they want to drink blood as much as possible. And they want to horrify and terrify as much as possible. So they tend to skin their enemies alive and then wear their skins. And all of the miniatures show elements of that.
I was wondering where, if you got how do you flay a metal skeleton? I was like, where is it?
Yeah,
it's the other way around.
They flay, yes,
other people, and then they wear those, right? Okay.
Those are the Necrons with can openers for fingers.
With angle grinders.
Yeah,
that's the Imperium version.
Is it just humans, or is it anything they find? Like
anything living
wearing
a cow,
orc skin.
Yes, orc skin,
part cow, part orc.
Listen, I don't think much of that bloody metallic kangaroo. What the fuck's going on there? And this robotic thing going, boing, 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 slice, 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 slice.
To what ends do they feel the need to drink the blood and wear the flesh? Purely to incite terror to the enemy, or do they gain anything else from it?
Well, Hlandugor, I love saying that,
Hlandugor, boyo.
was referred to as the Flayer. And so they are unconsciously reliving his kind of desires. So they've slightly changed over the additions, but what they used to do is they would pour blood into their mouth hole, which would dribble out underneath immediately because there's no throat, and then chew flesh, and that would fall out. So you just had this gore-covered metal skeleton Freddy Krueger wrapped in kind of weird scarves made of other races.
Jesus.
What? Yeah, but again, why?
Because they're reliving the desires and spirit of this Catan that cursed the dynasty that killed him or it.
Okay.
So so he was about to get killed by the Necrons, and then he was just like, fuck it, have the most weird part of me. Bam.
Yeah.
And then that's just what they did. Then
Joke's on you. Now you're going to get questioned.
Now you're addicted to blood. Bam.
Yes. So there were many tomb worlds that succumbed to the Flare virus in some order. And both the Destroyer virus and the Flare virus are so common that almost all dynasties have some aspect of their empire which is cursed by the Flare virus, or some aspect which is the Destroyers, which are then used to, destroy. The clue's in the name. The last thing I want to talk about is something we didn't touch on last episode, is the idea of false Necrons.
False Necrons?
When the Necrons were pushed through the kind of bio foundries for the transference protocol.
Hold on, can I guess? Is this humans? Is it the opposite of a flare? It's a human wearing the skin of a Necron.
All right, it's Cybermen. It's Cybermen from Doctor Who. Yeah,
robot dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, these are AI constructs of long dead Necron tier nobles and great thinkers. So it would be like if we created a robotic body and uploaded an AI version of Aristotle. So these are Necrons whose personalities were constructed rather than transferred. And false Necrons are always advisors. And they're very much like, they're basically made of these tiny little scarabs, which are, for Necrons, microscopic. So they look like they're liquid Terminator style deals.
Oh, cool.
So it's just like a community of like hundreds of thousands of like little bionic bugs.
Yes, which represent a single constructed personality of a historical Necron tier personality.
Wow. So they created these. They purposefully created these.
So it'd be like if we got all the works of Shakespeare and all the commentary about Shakespeare and all the imagery of Shakespeare, and then created a robot body, and then
with the voice of Joe Pasquale.
Yeah, but called it John just for a laugh.
And then, formed a large language model personality out of the data related to the historical figure. So that's what a false Necron is, yeah.
So it'll be like a kind of walking Microsoft Encarta, but just for one subject, so for just one thing.
Or one person, yeah.
One person.
And so these were constructed around the same time as the great kind of biotransference, and many of them still exist within the tomb worlds. We now come to more recent events. So that was 60 million years of history dealt with ineptly by me. Now
over to Ben to take us on a journey into
the next 60 million years.
In the 744th year of the 41st millennium, the Silent King returns. So we're a fair few hundred years ago.
But no one knew because he
Zarek-
didn't say shit.
Yeah.
Get him in his place.
Because he was really quiet.
He's more like the Huffy King. Do you know what I mean? He's just, he's the sulking
He could say
king.
something, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like, meh.
He returns from the void after encountering Tyranids. In the void, he turns himself and his forces. He had an army with him, and just pell-mell headed straight back to the universe. Like, guys. But
And everyone's like, shh, he's silent.
challenge.
Surely
Challenge.
he was he running back going like, you said that like he was really excited. He's like, guys, like he'd found like a cool bug or something on the ground. Like,
I think I found a dead body.
yeah. Wasn't it like, guys, like fucking, I don't want you to panic, but there's a whole bunch of shit going our way.
Yeah.
Just be really quiet and they might pass us by. Was that kind of the vibe he was going?
Well, no one trusts a leader who panics. So, he came back and he was all stoic.
Yeah.
Maybe I bumped into stuff. Who can say?
And the only thing that betrayed him was the huge pile of shit he was standing on.
Yeah.
His own shit.
Pile of metallic shit. Yeah. Listen, just on an unrelated topic, how do you feel about six-legged destroyers of flesh?
Yeah. I'm not hyperventilating. You're hyperventilating.
Yeah. So he arrives, him and his forces start waking up tomb worlds, and we'll discuss that a bit further in a moment. The first recorded battle between humans, or the Imperium, and Necrons happened about 150 years later, and it's referred to as the Massacre of Sanctuary 101. In the Vidar sector on the eastern fringe of the galaxy, so where Ultramar or the Ultramarines kind of area is, Order of the Martyred Lady, who's the Sisters of Battle, one of the Sisters of Battle, big six convents, set up a small post called Sanctuary 101, which effectively went dead after about a year. And obviously what had happened was the Necrons underneath, within the tombs on this tomb world, woke up and wiped out the Imperium forces. Eventually, once the massacre was investigated, they were looking through kind of a field of mutilated corpses. That makes it sound like they were planted. But an agricultural horror scene as these
just random body parts stuck out the ground.
Just arms sticking up out the ground. And they went through the vid logs, but the vid logs had been altered that anytime you would see a Necron, there was just kind of a static blur. And eventually they uncovered an untampered version and saw what was attacking. That's the first recorded Necron attack. I suspect it's not the first attack.
Did they censor themselves then?
Oh, well, you would, wouldn't you?
Blur your own face. Blur.
It's like those guys that rob banks and they put Sharpie all over their face. It's that kind of idea.
That's a terrible mask.
Permanent marker. Oh, God. That's worse than not wearing a fucking mask at all. It's like, now I can't take my disguise off.
My favorite one of those is the guy who went in to rob a bank dressed as a bush. He robbed the bank. He successfully robbed the bank and then went outside and stood still. It's just
amazing.
Was he standing still in the park across the road, or was he just like on a pavement?
No, he was standing still. What he did is he walked out the bank and then stood next to the bank entrance as a bush.
That's amazing.
About 30 years later, 20 years later, explorator fleets and the kind of scouting fleets at the edges of the galaxy start to disappear. And Azdaron, one of the Necron leaders from a tomb world, destroys a Mechanicus explorator fleet and sets the wreckage adrift in an area where his cryptex, his advisors, tell him that the Aliatok craft world will pass through soon. Oh. He then disappears, the Necron fleet disappears, and 3 companies of Ultramarines turn up to see what has happened to this explorator fleet and see this Eldar craft world nearby and think, oh, those fuckers must have destroyed the robot lads. And then, well, the Imperial robot lads, not the Necron robot lads. And then started a war between the Ultramarines and the Eldar, who are the most hated enemy of the Necrons, because they were one of the races the Old Ones created to destroy the Necrons at the end of the Great War in Heaven.
When you said the Imperial robot guys, is an explorator fleet non-manned? Is that
no, it is manned. I was just being glib. The cyborg right. Imperial Mechanicus fleet.
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
So the Imperial world of Athenos, a tomb ship captained by Thazar the Invincible, who is a Necron pirate king. Great. Love it. I imagine a gold eye patch. Fantastic.
Yeah. Love it. Bizarre.
His tomb ship comes up from underneath the capital city of this Imperial world. So very much like the that Avengers movie with Sokovia, where a big chunk of the city flies up. It's that coming up and all the bits falling off it. He decides not to interfere or destroy any humans that aren't destroyed by the natural kind of emergence of the ship, because he assumes that they're not intelligent form of life. So it just comes up from underneath them, they're scattered, everyone's dying, and he just goes, what? Oh, yeah, and moves on. And he heads off to his tomb world of origin, Zapanek, great name, which he's going to eventually become the Pharaon of, and pauses only to destroy a handful of Eldar listening posts in the vicinity. Great. Sometimes it doesn't need to be an exciting story, Darren.
I'm gripped. I am gripped.
The last example, one of the more recent incidents, was an Imperial assault on something called the World Engine. So there was a violent coup on the tomb world of Borsis, which is Boris, but with an extra S.
Borsis.
Okay. Right, Borsis. Nice. And the kind of the Necron Lord who had been in charge of it during the Great Sleep was toppled by a more expansionist-minded Necron. When I originally did the research for this, I read it as an expansive Necron. So a big Chungus Necron. I'd love to see that. It'd be brilliant.
Even a few other Necrons.
With a big beard. No. Great big bushy beard. And so he activates the engines of an artificial tomb world. So effectively, a Necron Death Star is what you have to think about. Once Borsis kind of wakes up and comes to life, he goes on an absolute mad lad rampage of death and destruction through the Vidar sector, the same sector where the Imperium first encountered the Necroons at Sanctuary 101. It was going from planet to planet, zapping and destroying many things. I've lost diction and vocabulary. So, yeah. And ultimately it was only stopped by a task force of 15 Space Marine chapters, or large elements of 15 Space Marine chapters, and parts of the Imperial Navy. It was only destroyed when after trying to bombard it and get through its shields to destroy the command core, a chapter of Space Marines, referred to as called the Astral Knights, rammed the thing with their battle barge and crashed through the shields, deactivating them, and then there was a great orbital bombardment by the Imperial Navy. Their battle barge crash landed on the surface of the planet, and 700 members of the Astral Knights for effectively 100 hours. So what's that? 4 and a bit days? Went toe-to-toe with tens of thousands of Necrons. And they were moving from command node to command node, destroying them, trying to do something that would disrupt and stop the planet of Borsis, the Death Star, the Boar Star? Yeah, let's call it that.
Boar Star.
And it was only when the Astral Knights were down to just 6 remaining members, their chapter master and 5 other Space Marines, that they were able to detonate melto bombs in the command and control center, which destroyed all of the defenses and the kind of AI of Borsis, rendering it inert. Not a single Astral Knight survived. It was the death of an entire chapter of Space Marines. And the Blood Angels, who were part of the task force, took the wreckage of the battle barge of the Astral Knights and set it up on the last planet to be destroyed by the Death Star, by the World Engine, and set it up as a shrine where there is an enormous statue for every single member of the Astral Knights that perished in that battle. And it's the honor guard for that shrine is always Blood Angels, which that's a great visual.
Oh, cool. So, sorry, when you say they set up a big set, was it like the Terracotta Warriors, where they set up one for every Marine that died, or is it just one big? No, it's statue?
One for every Marine that died, and these are enormous statues.
Wow. Okay.
Like staggering. Yeah.
Right. Well, like twice the size?
I'd probably 4 or 5 times the size.
That is staggering.
Shit.
I have to say, if I saw one that was twice the size of Marines, I'm like, it's pretty big.
But it's all like Blood Angel artificers. So these are, each of them is a work of art in and of itself.
Wow.
You know, as an homage to the sacrifice of the Astral Knights. The last one I want to talk about is the one that it caused the most kind of cynical harumphing and grumping by gamers when it came into the lore, which was when the Silent King Zarek joins forces with the Blood Angels to defeat a Terminator splinter fleet. A Tyranid splinter, a Terminator splinter fleet. What the fuck? A Tyranid splinter fleet. So the Necrons and the Blood Angels were fighting each other, and then a load of Tyranids rock up. And so the Necrons and the Blood Angels join forces, defeat the Tyranid fleet that was attacking, and then work out that they're not strong enough to destroy the other at the end. So they reluctantly kind of go their separate ways. But it's written that before they disappeared, both the Silent King and Commander Dante, who's the leader of the Blood Angels, kind of gave a nod to each other. And that gave rise to hilarious sculpts of Blood Angels and Necrons bro-fisting each other.
What do you think of that alliance?
And then, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think we're going to talk about why it's plausible in a little bit, but I think it's against character for Space Marines. Space Marines hate everything that isn't human, or are taught to hate everything and destroy everything.
Did they join forces in a kind of, you know, an official arranged way, or was it like they were just shooting each other and then it was just suddenly there's fucking
look to the left
Tyranids and they were like, oh
look
shit,
right.
and then they were like, you know, suddenly the thing to my left is the bigger threat, so they both kind of turned and started shooting? Was it just that they were both shooting in the same direction that made them, you know, allies?
Yes, I think so, but also the Yeah, it's still out of character for Blood Angels. The Blood Angels would have just split focus,
Right.
if they were kind of
Yeah.
zealous space marines, you know? But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
Throwing a
interesting.
cat among the pigeons with that one, GW.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Kral's not happy. I can see it on his face.
I'm
No.
never happy there, am I? Let's be honest.
If you are having trouble sleeping, ask your doctor about the Great Sleep Initiative.
As a Necron here, I always struggle with sleep. Constant radioactive bombardment and war is just so bloody disruptive. I can't wait to take part in the GSI.
The Great Sleep Initiative guarantees pure intention and is completely free of any megalomaniacal star god aspirations.
Our nation's abysmal trading strategies are a source of immense shame for my 17 children and I. We're up all night crying in dark rooms. GSI is the answer we've been waiting for.
The Great Sleep Initiative was founded with our patented blend of 100% honesty, transparency, and printed circuit boards.
Our little Johnny suffered from awful insomnia and was an absolute terror until we sent him off to the GSI. Now he's an absolute ledge, ain't that right, Johnny boy?
Wait, Blur.
Hey, you funny bugger you, what you like?
The Great Sleep only requires 3 steps. Burn up in biofurnace. March to nearest underground tomb. Siesta for 60 million years. Sign up today.
A brief chat about the technology that the Necrons use. We talked last episode about gauze technology, which is this weapon system that if you're hit by the energy bolt, it flays off layers of molecules from your body until you die. So it onions you. And that technology is used at every level and includes melee weapons as well. So if it hits you with some sort of hyper phase sword or something, your body just starts dissolving as it comes into contact with you instead of just cutting you.
Oh, so is it like your whole person? So, like, if you get shot with one of these gauze guns, is it your whole person starts to disintegrate, or is it just in the area you've been shot?
It's the area you've been hit in, but
Right,
it does
okay.
spread out like the weapon from Independence Day, you know, the one that shoots down and then the kind of ring of fire moves out.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not. There will be remains. The energy dissipates quite quickly.
Could be quite a popular thing in the world of beauty, isn't it? Like just a single, like, instantaneous blast with that in the face. Just strip off that top layer of skin, like you do with morning dew. That's the whole thing of like washing your face in the morning dew. You frowned there. I said you.
I heard that too, Darren. I heard that too, mate. I was like,
Whoa. We said no politics.
But just give you a little bit of a zhuzh. You know?
Well, I do know that I want to shoot supermodels in the face with gauze technology, yeah.
Best job ever.
Best job ever. They also have something called Tesla carbines or Tesla powered weapons, which is gauze technology but lightning. So it has the same effect, but it's like a lightning caster.
Okay.
Which is,
but the end result is the same.
The end result is the same, yeah. But it affects.
He's still dead.
Yeah, it affects more people. It's like a gauze flamethrower.
It jump?
It jumps, yeah, just like electricity. Yeah. The other weapon they have, which is quite interesting, is these translocators, which is weapons that if you're hit by it, you're just sent into a pocket universe to die.
Be gone.
Yep. So you starve to death usually, or the environment, the biome in this pocket universe could be acidic. You know.
Do they send like if you shot 10 people, do they all go to the same pocket universe, or do they go to
well, if it's a large enough area effect weapon, then yes. I suspect if it's like a translocator machine gun, each one goes to a separate place. It'd be brilliant.
Oh, got it. It's kind of as cute as the orcs bubble gun. You know,
yeah.
Whee! Off they go. Off they float.
Mr. Chris.
the pocket universes get sent to, is it completely random? I.e., could it be lovely? Could they be like Candy Floss universe or something?
Well, I think lovely would be the ones that the Necrons can use themselves, because the Necrons are masters of this kind of pocket dimension technology. And there's a specific troop type that can go into their own pocket kind of dimension and then come out anywhere else in the universe.
Okay.
Yeah, so they kind of bamf out the way, yeah.
But yeah, so the one that they're sending them to with this gun is not. It's not a nice place. It's just snakes.
It's not the puppy store.
It's the toilet store.
Ew.
It would be the puppy store, but it's puppies that are all kind of mangy and sick.
Oh, okay, you don't want to pet him.
No, there he is. Yep.
Is that vomit or is that the other end? I can't tell.
The last couple of bits I just want to mention is they have an FTL equivalent to the warp drive. Necrons don't use the warp. They have no interaction with the warp whatsoever, apart from 3rd edition, where you had this pariah style Necron that was a combination of the Necron technology and the pariah gene, the Untouchables in humans. They use a thing called inertialess drive. It's not explained at all, but it's effectively the drive that the guild navigators have in Dune, where they're able to just go automatically from one spot in the universe to any other spot in the universe.
So like kind of wormhole vibe.
Exactly that kind of thing. They also have limited access to the webway, and they use a thing called dolmen gates, which are these kind of great, enormous stone gates, but it's living stone. It kind of repairs itself. There's some aspect of the Necron self-resurrection, self-repair technology in there. And what that does is it breaches into the webway and allows Necrons in, and then they can get out at any point in the webway where they need to be. The only issue is that the webway knows that it's been penetrated and moves to cut off these areas.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, that tickles. Oh, it must be Necron.
So the dolmen gates, they're artificial wormholes into the webway. They have to kind of be moved so that if they've been cut off from the webway by the webway itself, they'll be able to get back in again on another planet or on another area of that given planet.
Interesting.
The last thing I want to talk about is the Catan, as part of their deal with the Necrons, were trying to cut the Necrons off from the warp completely. And in fact, they were working their way through the galaxy, putting a further barrier between the real world, the real universe, and the warp. They were trying to get it to a point where it would be impossible to access the warp at all.
Oh, interesting.
And
the Catan were trying to do that.
The Catan were doing that with the kind of assistance and agreement of the Necrons.
Why?
Because the warp was the thing that gave the old ones instantaneous travel. Psychers draw upon the warp. They were effectively cutting all connection to the warp for all beings. That process was started at the end of the kind of War in Heaven, or towards the end of the War in Heaven, and has begun again on a smaller scale. They use this specialized rock called Blackstone, which you may have heard of. Blackstone appears in enormous kind of megaliths on planets and effectively makes it much harder for warp space to be accessed. The largest concentration of Blackstone so far was on the planet of Cadia, which is right on the border of the Eye of Terror. So if you look at an old map of the Eye of Terror, you'll see that in the kind of southern point of the map of the Eye of Terror, there's a great kind of gouging channel of normal space going right into the eye, or quite close to the border of the eye, and that's down to these Blackstone monoliths. You may also have heard of Blackstone Fortress,
Yes.
which are these great, enormous space stations made of blackstone, which have the same effect.
Is it an area effect?
It is an area effect, and sometimes can be focused depending on the shape of the monoliths and the control mechanisms around it. And in fact, there's a game. There's a kind of Warhammer Quest style game called Blackstone Fortress. I think you can still buy the main box game. There was a lot of expansions for it, which I think they're no longer in print. But it was a rogue trader landing on a Blackstone Fortress, trying to get into the heart of the machine to see if they could activate it and take it over and gain riches and wealth.
Cool. So
Technology.
So it strengthens the barrier between the warp and real space and just makes it like impermeable. Is that the idea?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been a very, very different state of affairs if the Catan had kind of managed that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Probably
End
would
of
be
40K, done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just space.
Yeah.
It's just space.
Yeah.
It's just normal.
Space
Just normal
junk.
space.
The best we could have hoped for is some sort of angry Battlestar Galactica remake.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of again a Matrix reference for the second time in the episode where they black out the skies to cut off the solar energy from the robots and then drain them out that way. That's what they were trying to do to the old ones.
The old energy drain, eh?
The old energy blood.
I'm sure I could have found some way to say that didn't sound so sexual, but I went for it anyway. I don't care.
Hey, listen, I know we've just met, but would you like an energy drain Jackson?
So Necrons, haters of all life,
Haters of all life and all things
except
that
the Blood
are-
Angels.
Yeah, they're bros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why
Yeah.
it ruffled some feathers. Yeah, it's not just that the Blood Angels are kind of die-hard, steadfast, Imperium or nothing people. The Necrons are programmed to hate all living things, right? It's in their code. But they end up fist bumping. Yeah, no, mate, nah.
There was a gamer who painted up a Necron army in Blood Angels colors. It is hilarious.
That's brilliant.
Anyway, I thought we'd have a brief look at some of the dynasties that are rampant within the 40k universe, and then we'll have a look at the foot troops, and we'll call it a day after that. I will remind listeners, these are the intro episodes. We'll deep dive into all of this shtick when we get to the Necrons in 2035.
Excellent.
So I thought we'd start with the Zarkian dynasty, which is the dynasty ruled over by the Silent King himself. Now, he was the one that disappeared into the galactic void, taking a portion of his dynasty with him, returning after millions of years, simply because he encountered the Tyranids. And the Tyranids were diametrically opposed to his plan, as in they were...
Oh, he found the Tyranids, did he? I didn't know. He didn't come in and be like, guys, don't panic, right? But Tyranids.
How does everyone feel about angry pets? Well, there's a lot of them coming. Yeah. So he arrives back to reactivate the Necrons because of the Tyranids, because they would ruin his plans for the Necrons. And the major spoiler here is that the Silent King wants to reverse biotransference. He wants to bring back the souls of the Necrons into living bodies so that they can be free of the metallic curse of both the Catan and time.
And he saw the Tyranids and he was like, they're perfect.
Yeah.
I just love their curves.
He saw the Tyranids and realized that they would eat everything and there would be no bodies for him to carry out the reverse biotransfer. Bioreference?
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
Bio upcycling.
And so returned to our galaxy, started activating Tomb Worlds again, but because he had destroyed the command protocols, he has to kind of go to places. He can't just hit a big green button on his command throne and then everyone
The
kind of
master
wakes
switch.
up.
Click.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
The master switch with a really disappointing kind of meh noise when you push
I
it.
was like, yeah, when I said to sleep, just put them in standby, not physically unplug them. Oh, so I've got to go to each fucking. Oh,
You must have had that same feeling you get when you clean your desktop on your computer and you're like, yeah, I don't need that and I don't need that. And then you come back a week later and you're like, right, where's that? Oh, fuck's sake. I fucking deleted it, haven't I? And then you go into the recycling bin, you'll be like, oh, tell me I didn't empty it. Tell me, just give me, you got one more chance. But no.
yeah. Man.
So with the return of the Silent King, many dynasties have moved to ally with him, or with them, with the Sarekian dynasty. Other dynasties have rebelled against them, blaming them not only for biotransference, but also for the great sleep and the terrible fate that encompassed the Necrontyr race once they moved into their new metallic bodies.
But what was their manifesto? Like, okay, what would you have done instead of have a great sleep?
Oh, they were just following orders, Chris. Because of the command
Classic
protocols.
excuse. No, I was just following orders.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Classic excuse from list of terrible things in head.
I'm not joking. I just had exactly the same list come into my head. Again, we're obviously from the same stock.
One of the kind of more confusing and troubling aspects of the Zarekian dynasty is that no two Necrons, or no two Necron leaders, remember them with crystal clarity and consistent kind of memories. It appears that no Necron is able to concentrate on the topic of the Zarekian dynasty for too long. So it's a holdover, it seems, from their command protocols, that something is still there where they can't work out like where all the Tomb Worlds are, or who's who in the chain of command of the Zarekian dynasty. So
What do you mean something's still there?
Something's still there in terms of all Necrons have it's like Memento. They have fractured memories of that specific dynasty. It doesn't affect any other dynasty. They have perfect recall and memories of all the others. It's kind of like a tactical move by the Silent King, where they've
Walk into
kind
a
of
room.
hidden things.
What did I come in here to pick up?
Exactly right.
Never mind, fuck it. And then you go downstairs and you remember exactly what you went in the room to pick up. You know what I mean?
It was that dynasty. I need to go back upstairs.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced Dynasty.
All right,
Probably is.
Moth.
I literally don't know.
Neither do I.
Dynasty.
So the Silent King and his dynasty are moving through, waking up Necron Tomb Worlds like it's the Pit Stop races, the old cartoon with Penelope Pitstop. Hail, I'm a Necron. The Monarch dynasty, or the Maynard dynasty as I keep calling them, they were the ones that killed the Welsh Catan Llandudor, and
This is
thus
Scottish,
were infected
Llandudor.
with not Llandudor, Llandudor.
Clan, Chris.
Clan.
Still sounds Scottish. Maybe it's just got the word clan in it. Clandudor.
No, it's a double L at the start, so you have to do the Welsh. Yeah. Very popular in Wales is our Chris.
Spelled Kral, spelled Cral, double L.
These were the ones that killed the Welsh Catan and began their kind of bloodthirsty autonomic reaction to living beings. And as they went into the Great Sleep, it was that the Silent King was lobbied by other dynasties to wipe out the Monarch dynasty because the infection would spread, and indeed it has. Interestingly, their dynasty was awoken when a star went supernova and they were washed with cosmic energies.
Ah.
Did that have a funky effect?
Mercury was in retrograde and wasn't a great period.
Yeah, the Caracol binary star is retrograde in Uranus. That would wake anyone up.
Was it the star of the system they were in? Because
it was a nearby star system,
right? Okay,
that the energies washed over their tomb, their crown world, which is the lead tomb world for a dynasty.
Right.
The Mefrit dynasty specialized, as I say, speaking of supernovas, in the capacity to cause supernovas.
Wow.
So they were like a one and done weapon of war. And so the Silent King frequently engaged them to root out troublesome worlds and bring them to heel with threats of destruction of their star. I mean, that would give anyone pause, wouldn't it?
How do you threaten somebody with that? Do they show them a YouTube video? Here's a star I destroyed earlier.
Grab the sun in a headlock. Like, I'll fucking do it. I'll fucking do it.
Because if a guy turned up with a planet, it was just like, I'm gonna blow up your star. I'd be like, yeah, I don't believe you. That's a pretty big deal, man.
It's the eternal thing with threats, isn't it? You have to do it once at least.
Yeah, exactly. Difficult to do it more than once in a star system, you know.
See that nearby star. That's go and look for it. Look for it.
Yeah. You know the Bear constellation? Where are its eyes? Where are its eyes?
It's now a platypus constellation. You want to know why?
No. I'll just stand here by your largest telescope. Go on, have a look.
Oh dear.
And again, it was another dynasty that was that kind of fell out of favor with most of the other Necrons because it was felt that their methods of making war were less honorable, as if such a thing were possible when destroying stars. The Nefrak dynasty, or Nefrek dynasty, used to be able to, or still can, but they would harness the energies of suns, as in the stellar bodies, not of like children, to create doomsday weapons of fire and light, and would destroy lots of planets and lots of enemies with just by turning them into light, and then, I suspect, flicking the switch. So they would just disappear.
Solar-powered weapons.
Yes.
Takes them like a good 2 years to charge up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But when they're charged,
you just wait 643 days. You are gonna.
But one of their interesting abilities of current, certainly on the tabletop as well, is that their leaders can turn into beings of pure light. I mean, in lore, that'd be weird on the tabletop.
Yeah, that'd be handy, wouldn't it?
But once a leader is in this kind of being of light mode, it activates traces of what's called metagold within the bodies of all of their Necron warriors and other troop types, and give them the ability to kind of teleport briefly and move very quickly across the battlefield. And try as they might, they've not worked out any way to make those effects permanent. It's a once per battle kind of deal, but it's incredibly powerful because you've got warriors then that can just phase through fortifications and get where they need to be to destroy the enemy.
That's amazing.
Useful.
So that they kind of highlight the Arthur C. Clarke notion that any technology that's suitably advanced is indistinguishable from magic. So that's effectively what their enemies would think of it as like a warp power, some sort of psyker ability. we'll close out the dynasties with the Sautek dynasty, which is quintessentially evil robot Egypt. That's what you have to hold in your head for Sautek. And it's like Chocolotl, or whatever that fucking city was called. Chocolblocks. Oh, God. I blanked it out.
Which was what? The Lizardmen City?
Lizardmen City,
in the old world?
The current leader of the Sautek dynasty is a pharaoh called Imhotep. He's referred to as the Storm Lord because he's the master of this kind of Tesla-style technology that we were talking about earlier. The Sautek dynasty is so large, it has at least 80 tomb worlds, and it is the most commonly encountered Necron dynasty by the Imperium because they're so expansionist. They want to conquer areas of space and bring it under Necron rule. This has led to the Imperium to believe that the Sautek dynasty is in fact Necron culture, and any other dynasties are just variants of that. You know, they're sub-dynasties of this main Necron idea. It's the biggest threat, arguably the biggest threat after the Tyranids, to the eastern side of the Imperium. So all of that great big Pacificus. No, not Pacificus. What's the other one? Tempestus. Segmentum. Home to the Ultramarines and. The nobility are the single most aggressive expansionist nobility within the Necron culture because they have survived the Great Sleep largely intact. They do have elements of their dynasty affected by the Destroyer virus. They do have elements affected by the Flare virus, but they have, as I say, by and large, survived intact with all the command protocols. All the Necron lords that went into the Great Sleep, by and large, came out of the Great Sleep in their same positions, with the exception of Imhotep, who kind of usurped the dead Necron lord of the Sautek dynasty on a tomb world called Mandragora, which was owned or claimed by the forces of chaos.
Oh.
The tomb world was corrupted, and all the Necrons kind of died in their sleep. Oh.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
Meh.
No. Hooray.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Boo. I don't know.
It's that whole shoot baby Hitler thing, you know? Yeah. No. It's a baby. Yeah.
But it's Hitler.
So I want to close out with just a brief bit about the army structure. Dynasties.
They're all robots.
Yeah. Dynasties, they're kind of a plug and play system of armies. So you've got their leadership is overlords or pharaohs with sub-commanders who are Necron lords, and then their advisors who are these cryptex, which is like a vizier style position. And some of these cryptex are referred to as chronomancers because they have the ability to control time, and they can, make an individual age or de-age very quickly.
Can they undo things that they've just said? Like the Pharaoh says, right, should I go this route or that route? And he goes, you should take route A. And then the Pharaoh's like, off with his head. And then he just goes, beep, and just rewinds time. And it's like, you should go with path B.
The short answer is yes.
Amazing. Must be a fucking nightmare with several of them in the room.
and they're all the same one. You then have dimensionalists who are masters of these pocket dimensions.
You're dimensionalist.
See that?
You're
dimensionalist. You have the plasmancer.
You plasma? No, it doesn't work.
It's a great name. Effectively, they control plasma.
That's cool.
Sometimes it's not complicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mum.
Plasmanster.
You've then got geomancers that have control over kind of seismic powers. So I imagine them as kind of robot the Thing from Fantastic Four, able to, move tectonic plates. Not that he can.
But with wires.
Bad analogy.
Make rock fly out of the ground, like big fucking spikes of rock. Is that the kind of thing you would do as a geomancer?
Yeah, I suppose you could. Yeah.
Cause or something that you're into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben's like, yeah, sure, Ben. Yeah.
My favourite one has to be the Psychomancer.
He controls over psychos.
Yeah. And all joking aside, they have a weapon called the Abyssal Staves, which causes enemies to simply go mad.
Wow.
To believe they've gone mad.
No, to actually make them go mad, to go insane.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, just like deceive them to think they've gone mad, which is kind of the same thing anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that whole thing of like, does an insane person know they're insane?
No, that's what makes them insane.
Yeah, exactly.
You then have kind of the next rung down is you've got Lichguard, who are the bodyguards for the kind of leadership. You have the kind of rank and file, which are the Necron warriors, which are the standard kind of foot troops. You have the Immortals, which are the heavier foot troops, who form the kind of elite units. You have dimensional snipers called Death Marks. These are the troops that can kind of go into their own pocket dimension and come back out again somewhere else. And cool. They are crazy. They are absolute nuggets.
Did you say they're snipers?
They're snipers, yeah.
That's cool. I like that pairing of abilities.
Yeah, they have a kind of cool abilities. Nice. We talked briefly last episode and this episode about Pariahs, which is a Necron troop type from the 3rd edition. It's now no longer available, although I'm hoping they bring it back. Some dynasties have a small amount of these troops in the lore, no longer on the tabletop. These foot troops are augmented by Tomb Blades, which are Necron jet bikes. And then you've got armored personnel carriers like the Ghost Ark, and you have other kind of mechanized death dealers like the Doomsday Ark, it's the same kit as a Ghost Ark, and all it does is it has a huge cannon running down the middle of it. Sometimes it's that easy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just add a big fucking gun, man. Bam! You got yourself a Necro Ark.
Yeah. And you have another type called an Annihilation Barge, which is, I like to think of it as like the Midlands. There's a barge going down all these canals, just destroying things around it.
Just really slowly.
Just plowing shit out its way. The Annihilation Barge.
Stop, it's getting away. It's just moving at like a mile an hour.
Those troop types and the vehicle types, they make up like 80% of a dynasty's kind of Necron power. I was going to say manpower, Necron power.
The 20% are batteries.
Batteries, yeah. These are augmented by the Tomb World Keepers. So those are the Scarab Swarms, the Canoptic Wraiths and Spiders, the impressively named Tomb Stalker, which is a enormous Necron centipede that patrols Tomb Worlds. And then you have the Doomstalker, which kind of looks like a giant Necron jellyfish that kind of ambles around on stick legs within Tomb Worlds, again, patrolling and defending. Mr. Chris?
Would that look, like War of the Worlds, big alien mech things that walk around on spindly legs? Is that kind of thing?
Exactly right. It's that kind of thing, yeah. Yeah, perfect. Better analogy than I came up with, I can tell you that. Wow. Each dynasty then has access to a destroyer cult with an L, and these are the hovercraft, kill everything that's living foot troops or hover troops.
So when they fire their gauze cannon,
they spin.
Belted a mile away.
They spin horizontally.
As they're talking to you, they're just like Anyway, as I was saying, and another thing.
Hold on. I'm coming back round.
But as I mentioned, you have other flavors of destroyers like the Scorpith Destroyer, which is a Necron destroyer that has 3 legs. Ophidian Destroyers, which are, again, destroyers, but they are snaky, and they are able to bamf through terrain. And then you have a Hexmark Destroyer, which is a kind of spider-like creature it has 4 legs, kind of scuttling along, but it has 6 arms, and each arm has a Gauss blaster at the end of it, a Gauss pistol. And so it's able to
He just launches himself into orbit when he fires his cannons. Whee!
Wonder if he.
imagine
how many of them has he got?
6.
Okay, right. Yeah, you can fire them like
I imagine he
do a kind of Mexican wave sort of thing, like the worm.
Just like between the hovercraft lads and those guys, it's just an absolute hoot. It's like Gauss cannons and spinning all over the place and launching themselves.
I imagine he scuttles into the middle of a battle and stands perfectly still until there's an enemy at the correct angle for each gun to offset the other gun. So only shoots once per battle.
Not yet.
You then, of course, have the flayed ones, which are the Necron kind of infiltrators who have succumbed to the flare virus, them of blood, spattered metal, and inappropriate cloaks.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, you would have the forces of the Triarch themselves. So these are the Triarch Praetorians. These were the Praetorian Guard of the Necron leadership, as was. So they're the ones that obey the Silent King and his 2 companions.
They're like
and they are
Necron custodes.
Exactly right, yeah. They are incredibly buff, both in terms of strength and shininess. A lot of gold on a Triarch Praetorian. And interestingly, logically, they all sort of look the same in terms of a lot of dynasties when they were made by the Catan used kind of the different resources of the planets that they were on to form the bodies. So you've got a lot of dynasties have just kind of plain steel. Well, it's not steel, but necrodermis. And some of them are gold, some of them are silver, some of them are actually ceramic colored.
Shatter really easily. Oh, ceramic colored. Not actually ceramic,
yes.
Okay.
You get baby blue Necrons, and I've forgotten the dynasty that they're associated with.
Yeah, they're not made out of ceramics, Krell. It wasn't like the end of it. The ones made of hay and wood were pretty terrible as well. They didn't last long. Ceramic was a step up, but it was a step in the right direction.
Ceramic. Let's see how hardy this is as a material.
So there's regiments, legions of these Triarch Praetorians that are absolutely, I've forgotten what the term is. The
Terrifying.
military term. Elite. They're the primo foot troops of the Necron dynasties or of the Necron race. They're augmented if they need to destroy something a bit bigger. They have something called the Triarch Stalker, which is a cross between a scarab and a spider, but an enormous walking vehicle with huge gauze blasters underneath it, gauze cannons that can literally destroy anything.
Yikes.
Again, just launching them off the ground every time they fire the gauze cannon.
The recoil on these is really weird. Yeah.
I'm loving the gauze weapons. I think they're hilarious.
That's really it. I do want just to mention that they do have larger constructs analogous to Titans, and these are the Seraptech heavy constructs, and they just look like, again, a cross between a scarab and a spider, but even bigger. And it's usually the front legs are absolutely enormous. and these things carry synaptic obliterators,
And Gauss cannons?
which is a larger, more effective form of gauze cannon that dissolves subatomic particles, ripping apart molecular bonds in a very excruciating style. But they also have
Sounds like a Gauss cannon to me, Darren. Sounds like a Gauss cannon to me.
Yeah, as
Well,
opposed
if it
to
looks like a
doing
duck
that.
and walks like a duck, it's a gauze cannon.
It's probably a Gauss cannon.
I love that it's in a very painful way, as opposed to the other way that you could dissolve molecules. It's completely painless.
Well, it's really weird because
Euphoric.
the other weapons, their use is synchronized by a kind of pleasurable orgasmic moan in your enemies.
gross.
What a way to go!
I think I've just come. Was that a fast show thing? There was the guy who was just like, "Oh, I think I've just come." Or was that the Paul Wyatt? I can't remember now. Yeah, no. Harry Enfield and Friends, maybe. Yeah.
I've just been shot. These Titan Walkers, the Seraptex, do also have trans-dimensional projectors, which removes enormous chunks of whatever they hit and puts them in a pocket dimension of random efficacy.
But not
It
candy
could
floss
happen.
or puppies.
Yeah, could marshmallows or spiked butt plugs. Those are the two things my brain went to.
Yeah, and only those two. It's a very
Only
wide
those
spectrum.
Marshmallows.
Spike dildos, damn it.
There we have 2-episode Jackson overview of the Necrons. What are your thoughts?
Love them. They're
they're
cool.
pretty cool.
They're not Imperium, therefore they are great.
It's quite a bit of order to these ones, though, Kral, because I remember you said that one of the things you liked about the orcs was their anti-order, anti-Imperium order. Still quite a bit of order.
Yeah. It turns out it's just the Imperium. I've just got a problem with the Imperium. So, yeah, the Necrons are pretty cool. I love the Gauss cannons. That's my favorite element. Just sends people spiraling.
Yeah, weapons
So I
with
think it was-
hilarious recoil.
So I'm thinking now, if we can get the Gene Stealer cults, which were, I think, up to recently Kral's favorite faction because they're just so weird, and equip them with gauze rifles, you'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
God.
Well, they had hilarious weapons as well, but there was more in the name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the gusset moistener and stuff like that.
Very, very ineffectual weapon, that one. Right?
Yeah.
Gusset moistener.
hello.
The best that it could do was embarrass the enemy. Oh, I have to leave, but we're on the front line. My gusset, though.
I'm sopping.
Yeah,
Oh,
I dig them, man. The mini design is next level.
It's cracking,
very,
yeah.
very cool.
yeah.
And I love the kind of pharaonic aspect to them as well. And they sound like they're up to stuff as well. Actually, do you know what? They sound like just about the best chance that the galaxy has against the Tyranids. Because everyone
Yeah.
else
The Blood
just
Angels
seems to be-
thought so, which I do have a problem
Yep.
with. Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
against the grain, doesn't it?
the fist bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Where do they
Nice.
sit in your 40k
Hierarchy.
hierarchy of factions?
For me, I think they are, to use a phrase associated with spike butt plugs, they're right up there. Yeah. No, I kind of I fall out of love with them, but then every now and then I just go, oh, it'd be great to have an army of them. They just look
Yeah.
really cool. I think is to parrot what Ben said. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Right. So
super duper. Should we wrap up?
yeah.
Bah.
All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules, and merchandise. Again, if you're keen to support the show, just click on the support us link in the description, or the Quartermaster link as it's called now, and give us all of your Necron credits. We'll be back again soon, displaying just how little Kral and I know. Until then, cheerio.
Sarah.
Shh, I'm the Silent King.
Toodaloo.
What?
Huh?
What?